Hi class. So if you have noticed, I have uploaded before an activity in our classroom wherein I am asking you guys to work on a gallery activity wherein it's an animation by which it will automatically show different tourist destinations in the country. Now, another thing that will be included in that animation would be navigation buttons. The navigation buttons will be used to basically navigate through your timeline and then go from one particular picture to another, or pause or play the entire animation. Now, for you to be able to fully understand what we're trying to work on here, we're basically going to use Actionscript. Now, I will just show you basically what I am expecting to see as your output, and then afterwards I'll try to let you see some step-by-step procedure by which you can use Actionscript to somehow work this out. So here I have a completed activity here, so let's just try to look into testing the scene and how it should work, and let's try to replicate it afterwards. Okay, so let's just wait for the output. Okay, so here we have our output, wherein you can see here that it's basically moving 5 frames per second. So it's basically moving at around 3 seconds to move to the next particular picture. Now, I only used 3 images here, but for the requirements of your activity, you just base it on whatever I gave as an instruction. Now, if you can see, it's automatically playing. Now, the concept is, if I, say for example, if I click on pause, okay, the animation should stop playing. Okay, at whatever frame it's on, it should stop playing. Now, if I press on play, okay, basically it will continue to play again and again and again in a particular loop. Now, the concept of next here is for me to basically from this particular picture going to the next, and then basically I'm just trying to navigate through the different images in the gallery. So these are the 3 buttons that I just placed here. Of course, I'm asking you to work on some other things like previous frame and so on and so forth. You can work out more buttons here, but let's try to look at how this is done. So let's try to do it from scratch. So we're going to create a new project. Okay, it's an Actionscript 3.0 project, so make sure it's in a 3.0. Okay, so we'll be given a blank stage. Okay, now on this stage we're going to create now our buttons first. Let's try to work on our buttons first. So to create our buttons, let's try to create now a new symbol. Okay, now we can name this as, say for example, button play, and this is a button. Let's try to work it out. Now, as I have mentioned before, when creating a symbol in Flash, we're basically every symbol is like, it has its own timeline, unique from the timeline, the main timeline of the actual scene. So for this particular button, we have now our own timeline at the bottom. Now we're going to create let's try to create now a shape, rectangle shape. Okay, let's just try to work on the properties of this one. So I'll probably make it around 50 by 50, and then 25 by 25, 50. Okay, so that's just a small button. Let's try to change the appearance. Probably I'll change this to something like a blue color. And then let's add a text inside. Play. Probably white. Then let's move it 25. There. Okay, so that's our button. That's now for when creating buttons, you would see here at the bottom of the timeline, you would see here an up, an over, and a down. Now for the up, that's basically the default appearance of the button. For the over, that's basically the appearance of the button when the mouse is over the button. And when you say down, that means that's the appearance of the button when it is clicked. So let's just try to play around with this by doing a new keyframe. Insert keyframe. So when you're inserting a keyframe, you're basically copying the previous keyframe and then adding another frame for that. Now here, since it's over, I want to change this to something like a green color when it's hovered. I'll probably change the text as well to black when it's hovered. Okay, and then when it is down, okay, when it is down, I'm going to change it to a red button, and I'll make this into a yellow font. These are things that you can change by your preference, of course. Now, once that's done, okay, going back to the scene, of course, you cannot see the symbol yet because we haven't made an instance of that symbol. So again, there's a difference between an instance of a symbol and the actual symbol. Now in our library, okay, you can see here the button or the symbol that we have just created. And to create an instance of that button or that symbol to our stage, you just drag and drop that particular button to the stage. Now we have a button on our stage. Okay, we can name this as an instance name of play button. Okay, now it has an instance name. Now we need to create at least two more, maybe just like we have seen earlier. We have your pause and the next buttons. So to easily do that, we can just right click this one and then duplicate it. And let's just name it as button pause. And then we'll try to edit this one by going inside. And then we'll try to edit this by changing the text. There. Okay, so oops. Okay, now after that we'll try to remove just going to get the color. Everybody knows the eyedropper tool, right? Already, so I guess there's no problem with that. I'll just remove this, and I'm going to insert a keyframe here. Okay, and I'm going to change the color of the button. Okay, we'll try to change the text color as well to make it the same as the play button we made earlier. Now for this one, okay, I'm going to remove it again, and I'm going to insert another keyframe, and then change the color to red. Okay, let's change the font color to yellow, to make it the same as the previous example. Now we have created our button and it's stored in our library. Okay, so we can make our instance of that button by just simply dragging and dropping it on our stage. Okay, and then let's just change the instance name to pause button. Okay, afterwards we can work on creating another button. So the same process, duplicate, next, edit, change the text to next, okay. Change the color again. Now, don't get confused on the things that I am doing, like changing the color, changing or copying the color and then those things. Those are just, of course, adding details, just simply adding details to the animation. Now, on your case, if you are getting a bit confused on the things that I am doing right now, you just have to focus on the process of creating a symbol and basically just creating the action script later on. So that's for the over, and then for this one, I'm just going to get the red color. Actually, I don't even have to copy or use the eyedropper tool because it's basically just a red color, but just to show you how it's done. And then insert keyframe, and I'm going to change the color to red. And I'm going to change the color of the text to yellow. So now we have created all of our buttons. It's all in the library. Just drag and drop that to the stage, and now we have our buttons. Now, for us to put together our images, so we are going to create another layer. In this particular layer, we are going to import to stage the images that you have downloaded off of Google, the different tourist destinations. Say for example, this one, start off with this one. Of course, you can modify the size to fit there. Okay. Now, as we have mentioned in our instruction, okay, we're going to create now 15 frames for each of our image. So for the 16th frame, I'm going to insert our blank keyframe. Okay, and then here we're going to insert, or let's just use this one first and create 45 frames. So now, import the next picture. Again, edit the size. Fit it. Okay. And around 30. We're going frame, insert the last image, and then create frames to fit that. So basically what it does is just basically showing us our images one by one. Okay, of course this will be very fast because we are currently at 24 frames per second. So if you want to change that to fit our needs, okay, we are going to just put it to 5 frames per second. So the moment we try to play this and test this, it's basically going to just show us the animation that is moving from one picture to another. But the buttons are not yet working because we haven't programmed these buttons yet. So that will be our next step. Now, how do we program these buttons? So we have to create a new layer. Okay. In this particular layer, we will be creating our action scripts. Now, since our ActionScript 3.0 is object-oriented, so we have to declare first that we want to add an event listener to our buttons. Now, when we say event listeners, this is basically just saying that our button is going to wait for an action being done by the user. So let's try this one. So play button. This is the instance name that I have made earlier, if you can remember. Okay. Add event listener. Mouse event dot click. For this one, now, this one will be your function name. Now, this can be anything. This can be, you can rename this to any name you want. Okay? So, but for me, I'm going to use just play now. So, this is a variable. This is basically the name of your function. So, the function that you will be creating. So, you can name it however you want. Okay, and then also for the pause button, pause now, and also for our next button, next. Now, we have created our event listeners. So basically, our buttons are waiting for an action, okay, which is, in this particular scenario, it's waiting for what kind of event? It's waiting for a click. So when the user clicks that button, it will execute the function that is being given here. But these functions are not yet existing, so we are going to create that now. So function play now. Okay. Event mouse event. This is a mouse event. This is not going to create a data output. Okay. Now, inside this function will be what the button will do. Okay, that is the idea. So since it's a play button, so all you have to do is to use the timeline navigation function, which is play. For our pause button, event, mouse event, we're going to use the stop navigation function. Now for our next, we have your event. This one, it will, if current frame is greater than or equal to 1, and current frame is less than or equal to 15, what will it do? It will go to and play at frame 16. So the logic behind here is, okay, this is what the button will be doing if that particular button is clicked. Now, this is a conditional statement. I know you have been learning your conditionals in your programming subjects. Now, this is an if condition. Now, the current frame here is basically just retrieving on what particular frame are we on right now. So, say for example, we are at frame 5. Okay, so that means that we are if currently we are at the frame at the 5th frame, where it's going to compare it to 1. Is it greater than or equal to 1? Yes, that's true. And is 5 less than or equal to 15? True. So it will execute the navigation function that we have used here, which means that it will go to and play at frame 16. That's the idea. Of course, that doesn't end there. We have another else if condition here. If the current frame is greater than or equal to 16, so the next picture, and it is less than or equal to 30, then it will try to execute, go to and play at frame 31. Okay. Else, since we in my case, there's no more pictures left to navigate to. Okay, so if I'm at the 3rd picture and I click on the next button, it should go to the 1st picture. So else, go to and play at frame 1. Now, that is the idea of this particular code. Okay, so if I try to run this, let's try to test and see if it's already. Okay, so we have I forgot to change the instance name of our next button. Now that should work. Let's try to. Now the images are still moving properly from one picture to another, but let's try to pause it here. Okay, it's no longer moving. Let's try to play it. Okay, it's still playing. Now let's try to use the next button here, and it functions properly. Okay, so that is basically the functions of, or the concept of Actionscript. We're basically programming our animation to work on particular with particular interactions from the user. Okay, so of course this is still incomplete. You can use this as a basis, as a reference, as a guide for you to work on your activity. But after you have, but of course you need to also work on the other requirements, such as more pictures. Aside from that, you also have to work on creating a previews button, which is basically the opposite of our next button here. Okay, so that is all. If you have any questions, you just send me a message, an email, or you can comment on our Google Classroom, or you can also post your comments or concerns or questions to our Facebook group. Okay, so that is all. Stay safe and God bless.